Have you ever noticed how, sometimes, the quiet weight of sadness feels less like a burden, and more like a familiar room you've finally returned to? It is a strange thing to admit, especially in a world that is so loud about being happy. But there is a specific kind of comfort in the blue hours of the soul, a softness that doesn't ask anything of us. And if you have ever felt this way, I want you to know right now that you aren't broken, and you aren't strange for finding a sense of peace in the shadows. Welcome to this quiet space, a place where we can simply sit with the truth of how we feel, without the pressure to change it, because sometimes sadness isn't something we are trying to escape, but rather it is something we choose to rest inside for a while. It's an interesting thought, isn't it? That the very thing we are told to avoid can become a sanctuary. And over the next few minutes, we might find ourselves wondering why this quiet melancholia feels so much like coming home. This is the part many people don't talk about. The way sadness can feel like a heavy, velvet blanket on a cold night, providing a layer of protection between us and the demanding, bright world outside. When we are happy or even just okay, there is often an unspoken expectation to be on, to be productive, to engage, and to keep moving. But when the melancholia settles in, it brings with it a permission to stop. It's as if the world finally stops knocking on our door, and for a moment the silence is allowed to be absolute. Many people notice that in this state the need to perform simply evaporates, and there is a profound relief in finally being honest with the gravity of our own existence. Some find that this isn't about wanting to suffer, or even about being unhappy in a traditional sense, but rather a response to the exhaustion of constant motion. It can feel like a slow, deep exhale after holding your breath for years. Here's where the comfort quietly appears, in the realization that you don't have to pretend anymore, that the mask you wear for the office, for your friends, or even for yourself, can finally be set aside on the nightstand. It is often described as a return to one's true center, a place where things are stripped of their neon lights and presented in their natural, muted colors. Think of those rainy afternoons when the sky is a flat, beautiful gray, and you find yourself staring out the window with a cup of tea that has gone cold. There is no urge to run out into the storm, but there is also no urge to turn on every light in the house. You just sit there, and for once the grayness outside matches the grayness inside, and that alignment feels like a rare kind of integrity. People often describe a sense of being tethered when they are sad, as if the lightness of happiness was actually a form of floating away from themselves, whereas this quiet melancholia pulls them back down to earth, back to the floorboards, back to the weight of their own bones. It's a groundedness that can be deeply reassuring. This is a quiet secret many of us carry, the way we might put on a specific album of slow, melancholic music, not to make ourselves feel worse, but to feel understood by the notes, to feel that someone else has sat in this exact shade of blue and found a melody there. There is a specific kind of intimacy in that music, a feeling that the artist is whispering directly to the parts of us we usually hide. It's not about the pain in the song, but the honesty of it. In a world that often feels artificial and curated, sadness can feel like the most authentic thing we have. It's a raw, unpolished version of being alive that doesn't require a filter. You might notice that when you are in this state, your senses change. The world becomes a little quieter, the light seems softer, and the trivialities that usually stress you out begin to fade into the background, because they just don't seem to matter as much. When you are contemplating the vast, quiet depths of your own heart, some find that this is where the noise of the world finally stops reaching them, and they are left with a clarity that only comes when the ego is too tired to shout. It is a space that asks nothing of us. No goals to reach, no milestones to hit, no expectations to manage, it just asks us to be. Many people find that melancholia acts as a buffer, a way of slowing time down until it moves at a human pace again. We live in a culture of more and faster, but sadness is inherently slow. It is a lingering emotion, a contemplative one, and in that slowness, there is a hidden rest. You might find yourself choosing a sad film or a somber book, not because you want to cry, but because you want to see the world through a lens that acknowledges the complexity of being human, a lens that doesn't skip over the shadows to get to the punchline. There's a certain relief in that acknowledgement. It can feel like a quiet acknowledgement that life is allowed to be heavy. This is where the comfort quietly appears again, in the realization that your sadness isn't an enemy you have to fight, but a guest you can sit with. People often find that when they stop fighting the feeling, the sharp edges of it begin to soften, and what was once a piercing ache becomes a dull, resonant hum, something that can be lived with, even appreciated for its depth. It's a way of being that doesn't demand a solution. Sometimes we don't want to be fixed because we aren't broken. We are just experiencing the full spectrum of what it means to be a person who feels things deeply. This quiet melancholia can be a form of self-loyalty, a refusal to abandon yourself when you are down, a way of staying in the room with your own heart even when the lights are low. Many notice a sense of nostalgia that comes with this feeling, a longing for something that might not even have a name, a beautiful ache for a home they've never been to or a version of themselves that is more at peace. It's a poetic way of relating to time, where the past and the present bleed together in a soft, hazy blur. It's not about living in the past, but about honoring the thread of continuity that runs through all our experiences. It's a feeling of being part of something older and larger than ourselves, a historical human experience that has been described by poets and thinkers for centuries, not as a problem to be solved, but as a state of being to be explored. Some find that in this quietude, they are more observant. They notice the way the light hits a brick wall at sunset, or the sound of the wind through the trees, in a way they never do when they are rushing toward a goal. This heightened awareness is a gift of the stillness. It's a way of connecting with the world that is gentle and non-intrusive. It's the relief of not having to conquer anything. When we are sad, we aren't trying to win, and there is a beautiful, quiet freedom in that surrender. We are just existing, and for a few minutes or a few hours, that has to be enough. This is the part many people don't talk about. The way this state can feel like a form of emotional hibernation, a necessary winter for the soul where everything goes dormant so it can simply breathe. It's not a lack of life, but a different kind of life, one that happens underground, in the dark, where things are quiet and safe. People often describe the comfort of the night, how the world feels smaller and more manageable when everyone else is asleep. And the only thing left is the low light of a lamp and the weight of their own thoughts. In those moments, the sadness doesn't more like a visitor and more like a companion, someone who knows all your stories and doesn't judge you for any of them. It's a sense of being completely seen, even if you are the only one doing the looking. This isn't about wanting to stay here forever, or about romanticizing the hard parts of life, but about acknowledging that this space has its own kind of validity, and its own kind of beauty. It's about the permission to be real in a world that asks us to be perfect. The comfort of being sad is often the comfort of finally being truthful with ourselves, about how much we care, how much we've lost, or simply how much we feel. It is the weight of our own humanity, and while that weight can be heavy, it is also what makes us substantial. It is what gives us depth. Without these blue notes, the music of our lives would be thin and tinny, but with them, it becomes a symphony, rich and resonant. Many people find that when they allow themselves to sit in this space, they emerge from it not necessarily happier, but more integrated, more whole. They've visited the basement of their own house and found that it's not a scary place, just a quiet one. It's a place where the air is still and the memories are kept. There's a profound sense of safety in knowing that you can survive your own depths, that you can go into the quiet and come back out again whenever you're ready. But for now, if you are in that space, there is no rush to leave. There is no deadline for feeling better. There is only the present moment and the soft, steady rhythm of your own breathing. It can feel like a sanctuary where the world's noise is finally muffled. Some notice that this feeling brings a sense of compassion, not just for themselves but for everyone else they see, because they realize that everyone carries these quiet rooms inside them, even if they never open the doors. It's a shared, silent language of the heart. This realization can make the world feel a little less lonely, even in the midst of sadness. You might find that you are more patient with the flaws of others. When you are sitting with your own, more willing to let things be as they are. This is the quiet power of melancholia. It strips away the trivial and leaves us with what is essential. It's a reminder that we are more than our accomplishments and our smiles. We are also our sighs and our longings. It's the permission to be a person who is still figuring it out. As we begin to wrap our thoughts around this, remember that the comfort you feel in these moments isn't a sign that something is wrong, but a sign that you are listening to yourself. It is a form of self-care that doesn't involve buying anything or going anywhere. It just involves staying. Staying with the feeling until it has said what it needs to say. Staying until the rest is complete. People often find that the comfort of sadness comes from the fact that it asks absolutely nothing of us. It is a state of pure being, a rare pause in the relentless narrative of our lives. It's the blue hour of the heart, that time between day and night where everything is blurred and beautiful. It's a space where you can let the world go for a while and just be held by the stillness. It's the relief of knowing that you don't have to be anything for anyone else right now. You are allowed to be quiet. You are allowed to be heavy. You are allowed to be exactly as you are. The comfort of being sad is, in the end, the comfort of permission. The permission to be a messy, feeling, complex human being. In a world that often wants us to be something much simpler, it's the realization that your depth is not a defect, but a destination, a place where you can always return when the world gets too loud. It's the quiet sanctuary of the soul. We started by wondering why sadness feels like a familiar room, and perhaps the answer is that it's the only room where we don't have to keep up appearances. It's the only room where the truth is the only thing on the walls. So, if you find yourself there today or tonight, know that it's okay to sit down. It's okay to rest. It's okay to find comfort in the blue. You are not alone in the quiet, and there is no hurry to turn on the lights. If this reflection resonated with you, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for being here.